Have you ever noticed how sometimes drama seems to find you alone? As if certain people know exactly which button to push to steal your peace. The most curious thing is that most of the time, it's not the other person who has that much power. The power lies in how you react, or rather, in how you've been trained to react. Small, almost invisible insecurities end up opening doors to unnecessary conflicts, emotional exhaustion, and an eternal search for external validation. The good news is that there is an ancient, simple, and profoundly effective method to break this cycle. Stoicism doesn't teach you to swallow your emotions, but to develop self-control, observation, and a conscious pause between stimulus and reaction. When you understand this, the drama loses its power, silence gains meaning, and emotional freedom ceases to be theory and becomes daily practice. In this content, you will discover how to protect your inner peace without isolating yourself from the world, how to transform silence into a strategy, and why your reaction, not the attitude of others, defines the emotional impact of any situation. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will realize that you don't need to change the world to live better. You just need to change your point of support. There's a simple, almost disconcerting idea taught by Epictetus. It's not what happens outside that throws us off balance, but how we interpret it all. Reality in itself is neutral. The problem begins when we surrender control of our peace to events, opinions, or people. Whenever something external determines our internal state, we relinquish emotional freedom without realizing it. Often, this happens due to silent insecurity, that inner doubt about our ability to cope with the unexpected. Stoicism emerges as a direct invitation to take back the helm of one's own life with awareness and self-control. When someone irritates, frustrates, or provokes us, the immediate impulse is to react. But notice, the reaction arises before reflection. This is where Stoic philosophy makes a difference, because it teaches us to observe the thought before accepting it as truth. You don't need to agree with everything that goes through your mind. This simple observation already creates an internal space of pause, where external chaos doesn't penetrate so easily. Little by little, you realize that inner peace doesn't depend on the world cooperating, but on your attitude towards it. A practical exercise is to mentally ask yourself, is this under my control? If the answer is no, let go. It seems simple, but it requires practice. Readings like Epictetus' Manual or Marcus Aurelius' Meditations help internalize this perspective. Every time you choose to respond instead of reacting, you strengthen your emotional freedom. And, almost without noticing, that old need for external validation begins to lose strength, paving the way for something more solid inside. There's a huge difference between witnessing something and absorbing it as if it were your own. Many people confuse empathy with emotional contamination. You can hear, see, and understand someone else's drama without carrying its weight. The problem is that, due to insecurity about personal boundaries, we end up internalizing everything that happens around us. Stoicism proposes something elegant, creating an internal space for conscious observation, where you remain whole even in the face of turbulence. Imagine a rock in the middle of a river. The water flows, crashes, and churns, but the rock remains there, firm. This isn't coldness, it's self-control. When you observe without absorbing, you develop healthy emotional immunity. This requires daily attentional training, perceiving the other person's tone of voice, the energy of the conversation, and consciously choosing not to merge with it. This internal pause prevents automatic reactions that drain your inner peace. A simple practice is to take a deep breath before taking a stance, especially in tense situations. Inhale, observe the impulse, exhale, and choose. Seems like a small thing, but it changes everything. Over time, you realize you don't need to justify or prove anything. Inner silence grows, clarity increases, and impulsive reactions lose ground. This state of constant observation prepares the ground for something even more powerful. Mastering the timing between stimulus and response. Between what happens and what you do, there is an invisible space. That space is the pause. Mastering this pause is mastering your own life. Most people live on autopilot, reacting without realizing why. When you learn to pause, you gain an emotional advantage. It's not hesitation, nor fear. It's strategy. It's choosing not to be a hostage to impulse, especially when it stems from the insecurity of appearing weak or negligent. Many explosive reactions stem from the fear of not responding appropriately. But who said speed equals strength? True strength lies in conscious choice. When you pause, observe the thought arising, feel the emotion, and don't immediately identify with it, this inner silence creates clarity. You begin to respond in a way that is more aligned with your values, not with the expectations of others. This drastically reduces unnecessary conflict. A good way to train is to postpone difficult responses. Received a provocative message? Wait, count to 10, go for a walk, drink a glass of water. This simple pause strengthens self-control. Over time, you realize you don't need to fight for every opportunity. Life becomes lighter when you choose when to act. And this conscious choice completely changes how other people's words reach you. An insult only hurts when it resonates with you. If someone says something absurd, you laugh. But if it hurts, it's because it touched on some pre-existing insecurity. That's not weakness, it's human. The point is to recognize this mechanism. Most conflicts arise from the attempt to protect a fragile self-image. When we don't know exactly who we are, any word becomes a threat. Stoicism teaches something liberating. What others say doesn't define you. What defines you is what you believe about yourself. When that inner foundation is firm, provocations lose their power. You begin to see words as sounds, not as truths. This emotional detachment brings freedom and drastically reduces the need for external validation. A helpful exercise is to ask yourself, is this a fact or an opinion? Most of the time, it's just an opinion. When you separate the two, the reaction loses intensity. Silence appears naturally, not as an escape, but as a choice. This clarity prepares you to see the behavior of others even more clearly, without personalizing what was never about you. People's behavior says much more about them than about you. When someone attacks, judges, or belittles you without reason, they are projecting internal conflicts. It's like looking into a dirty mirror. The image comes out distorted. The common mistake, often due to insecurity, is trying to see yourself through this reflection. That's where the emotional confusion and the relentless search for approval begin. The Stoic method proposes something simple and powerful. Recognizing that something doesn't belong to you. You don't need to correct, convince, or defend yourself all the time. Conscious observation helps separate what is yours from what belongs to the other person. This discernment strengthens inner peace and reduces emotional strain in toxic or worn-out relationships. In practice, this means stopping over-explaining. When you feel the urge to excessively justify yourself, it's a sign of seeking external validation. Breathe, take a break, and remember, not every judgment deserves a response. This emotional detachment creates space for something essential: strategic silence. Silence is underestimated. We live in a culture that values the last word, the quick response, the sharp argument. But conscious silence is one of the greatest demonstrations of self-control. Not responding doesn't mean losing. Often, it means not playing a game that isn't worth playing. When you choose silence, you preserve energy and keep your emotional freedom intact. Silence is unsettling because it reveals inner security. Those who are at peace don't need to prove anything. This calmness in the face of chaos is more disarming than any aggressive reaction. The other person expects conflict, but receives silence. This breaks the cycle of drama. Gradually, you realize that many battles exist simply because someone chooses to fight. Practice silence as a choice, not as an escape. Observe the situation, pause, acknowledge the impulse, and decide not to react. This posture strengthens your presence and communicates emotional maturity. When you don't allow yourself to be drawn into chaos, your inner peace speaks for you, and this ends conflicts before they even begin. Now, it's worth taking a break, not one of those automatic ones, but a conscious one. Looking at all this, how many times do you realize you reacted impulsively and then thought, I could have handled that better? How many situations drained your energy not because of what happened, but because of how you reacted? True change begins when you understand that self-control is not repression. It's a choice. It's realizing that your inner peace is worth more than winning arguments, proving points, or seeking external validation? What if, starting today, you began to observe before reacting? What if you used pause as an ally, silence as a strategy, and observation as a tool for emotional freedom? Small daily decisions build a solid inner security, where insecurity ceases to control your actions. It's not about becoming indifferent, but about being selective with what deserves your reaction, your energy, and your time. So, let's reflect. Where are you still surrendering control of your peace to the behavior of others? What would change in your life if you chose to respond less and observe more? Start small today. Take a pause, practice conscious silence, and notice the effect. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue deepening this path of self-control, clarity, and emotional freedom.